How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Riley's Red Zone, and in today's video we're going to go over every Week 11 NFL game and give my takes on who I think will win, as well as, once again, we do have a guest picker. So let's first recap what happened last week. Last week was an unfortunate week. It was a very tough one, and it has potentially, I think, my worst record to date. And it did not go much better for the guest picker either. I went 6-8 overall last week, and our guest picker Max ended up going 5-9. There were a lot of close games that even at the last minute flipped the script. You know, the Browns beat the Ravens, we got the Texans over the Bengals, even at the final one, the Broncos beat the Bills. Just a lot of crazy matchups. It was a good weekend of football, but not for our picks. But this week, we're going to bounce back. And we also, to recap, I have now an 93-57 overall record, and then I've made correct underdog picks 18 of the 34 times. But let's focus now on this week. For this week's guest picker, we are bringing in a multi-time grocery games judge, an absolute legend when it comes to the history of this channel. We are bringing in Matthew this week for his choices. And so, we got some disagreements here we'll get to. It should be a fun one for sure. So let's get right into this week's matchups. So, Thursday Night Football, Bengals versus the Ravens. I'm going to start talking a little bit about what I did. After the bad week last week, I got to bounce back. So I've kind of reformatted how I'm going to be making some selections. But I ranked all the teams here just to get an idea of where everyone's at. And the Ravens are one of the best teams in the league, and I absolutely believe that. I think that they will make a playoff run. They've got everything going offensively, and defensively, they are also playing really, really well. Now, the Bengals, it's tough that they got on this they were finally getting right again after a slow start. They just can't pull off the win against the Texans last week, gave C.J. Stroud too much time, but they, I think, still have a lot of momentum. Their biggest weakness still is by far their offensive line, so I'm greatly worried about that. That just is proving to be kind of an overlying issue for this team, and they have to solve that if they want to make a run. But for regular season purposes, this is why I'm going to preface this. I started doing kind of a formula for who I was going to pick, but here's the thing. It is not going to be all the favorites that win every week. We just saw it last week. There are going to be some upsets. So I'm going to kind of stick to myself that I at least need to take 2 upsets each week. Now, there's some games where I think it was going to be an upset pick and it's not. But I need to make a couple choices that are not predictable, because otherwise you're not going to get them all right. And I'm not going to make the safe play. I'm going to try to get them all right. So this is a bold one where everything says to pick the Ravens here, and they are the better football team most of the time. But I'm going to take the Bengals here as they can split the series, and I think that this is going to be one of my 2 choices of pure upset picks that I don't think, that are listed as actual upsets. I'm going to say this could be one right off the bat. This is by far my least confident pick of the week, so the rest of the video I'm feeling pretty good. But this one, I have to take a stab at a choice, and I'm going to take this one. The Bengals are +4, so if I was the points, obviously I'm going to look at that. But the Ravens are looking phenomenal, as said, and that's where Matthew is going to go as well. Makes a lot of sense. They're one of the best teams in the league. I just got to take a couple swings because I aren't taking as many swings with some other games here. The second matchup I actually need to bring up here, recent news within the last half an hour of when I'm recording this, is Deshaun Watson for the Cleveland Browns ruled out. Now that is, you'd say tough, but he started slow last week, but the second half really picked it up. And they're playing against the Steelers here. And the Steelers, +2.5, they just keep winning. I mean, it is absolutely phenomenal that they haven't put up many points a lot of the times, but they still get the victory. And their defense is just absolutely unbelievable. And that's the same story for the Browns, except the QB play, it's same spot where they both have had subpar QB play or just kind of average. except for when they need it the most and they get it done. Losing Watson is a loss, but honestly, he hasn't been the best still. That will go down the way it's looking right now as one of the worst trades and maybe one of the worst contracts in history as they can't get off of it. So I'm assuming it's early to say. I don't think they've said anything, but I'm going to assume they go with PJ Walker or they'll go with DTR, but I'm going to say they go with PJ Walker again. I'm going to take the Browns here as they're the favorite. They are splitting the series, in my opinion. This would be another one where I think they split. The AFC North is the best division in football. And so I'm going to just take that teams kind of knock each other out a little bit here. And even with PJ Walker, I think the Browns defense can get it done. Matthew's going with the Steelers, so he's going with the underdog here. So we each so far have gone with an underdog. But now we're going to have a little bit of stretch here where some big spreads. We got 3 games in a row here that are nearly, if not touching double digits in who's favorited. We've got the Las Vegas Raiders against the Miami Dolphins. Raiders pulling off 2 wins in a row, including a kind of surprise one against the Jets there. Antonio Pierce has them going the right way. I really like what they're doing. It's kind of crazy. Like I thought their record was worse than it is. They were actually in decent position. They just were kind of, I think, squeaking to some wins early on, but they made the switch and they are rolling. But the Dolphins at home, the Dolphins have kind of gone up and down. They play good against the average or below average teams, but above 500 is where they've been struggling. But lucky for them, the Ravens are just kind of sitting at the middle there. So for that reason, and they're at home, I'm going to take the high-flying Dolphins offense here, although once again the Raiders are doing the right thing. They're getting back in the right direction. Matthew's also going to go with the Dolphins in that matchup. Bears, Lions here. Bears beat the Panthers last week. I thought that was going to be a sneaky one, and the Panthers did not pull off a win. The Lions are able to pull off that win against the Chargers, a high-scoring matchup. Me and Max both had a Chargers upset. Wasn't quite able to occur either. But this is one again where I'm going to say this, though. When I was looking at upsets, this feels like a potential trap game 100%. If I were to pick the one that I didn't pick an upset in but would, I would actually go this one. I think this could be a sneaky game. But I'm going to go with the Lions. I think it's just a safe choice here. And if they go down, I think you just got to go with this choice. And Matthew's doing the same. They're playing really, really good football. Phenomenal record. Things are just working well for them. So I'll take the Lions. They're -9 right now. I once again think that one could be the sneakiest game of the week, but I'm not going to take it. Just because that could go really bad if it doesn't work, whereas the other ones I think will be close games in my upset picks. The Giants are struggling so bad, and they're going against the Commanders this week, who haven't been phenomenal, but can at least move the football. So I just have to go with the Commanders here. They're 10-point favorites. The Giants right now I have as the worst team. It's just unfortunate kind of what they've had with injuries, and they really can't control that. So they're 10-point underdogs, as mentioned. Me and Matthew both thinking the same here. We're both going with the Commanders over the Giants, because this one is going to be interesting. I mean, it's just whether Giants can do anything really offensively. Titans-Jaguars. Going to take the Jaguars here. So is Matthew. I like Will Levis. I picked him in an upset last week. It didn't occur. He'll be fine. I just think the safer choice is the Jaguars. Now, they are, of course, coming off a tough loss. So maybe that plays into some slow starts. But I think that the Jaguars still are a really, really good team at home. I'll stick with them as of right now, and so does Matthew. So that one, 6.5-point favorites, both going in the Jaguars' direction. Cowboys, after their phenomenal week against the Giants, 10.5-point favorites against the Panthers here. Going to go with the Cowboys. In this one, I think that they are potentially a top 3 to 5 team in the league on their good days. The Panthers are certainly not. Now, of course, anything can happen, but the Cowboys is who I got to go with here, 10.5-point favorites, and so is Matthew in this one. I think that one's an obvious choice. Now, once again, anything can happen, but for making the pick, you got to go that direction. Chargers-Packers. The Chargers just keep doing what they do, just those close games, but just can't win it. And the Packers here are in a spot where they've just been kind of up and down, and I Don't know what to really expect on a week-to-week basis. If there were a team that I think that they could pull a win off against, it could be the Chargers here. But I still think the Chargers can fight back. I know that's crazy to say. I am still in the mindset that by the end of the season, I do think they need to cut ties with Brandon Staley. Just because if you're a defensive head coach and you're allowing as many points as you are, and your offense is really what you got to build around, I think they just got to make a move there. But I'm going to take the Chargers just because I think they can still put up points. Matthew's going to go with the Packers here in an underdog matchup. It's a 3-point spread. This could go either way. Home field advantage does go to the Packers here. I just think that the Chargers can still put points on the board, so I'll take the Chargers. Cardinals, Texans. Let's get bold. I did take the Cardinals in an upset last week to beat the Falcons in Kyler's return. I really think, and I feel so bad every week, I think the Texans are a legit team at this point. CJ Stroud is playing like a baller. I thought they were going to be more of a fun upset team, but they're in serious playoff contention here, and they are playing legit football, especially on offense. But Kyler also played legit football last week, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try to every week take at least 2 upsets straight up. And this is the one I think I'm going to take. +4 Cardinals. I don't once again get into points yet, but I'm thinking this could at least come down to a field goal with how many close games the Texans have played. I think Kyler will come out and put up a good performance. I'm going to take the Cardinals here in an upset. This one's kind of a very bold choice. Matthew is going to go with the Texans. I do think that this game should be a fun one, a high-scoring matchup. Texans do have home field advantage. I just think coming off a huge win, maybe they come back down a little bit. But, man, the Texans are legit. But I'm going to take the Cardinals in an upset. Bucs, Niners. Niners on their good days, just like the Cowboys, Niners on their good days look so good, and they've done it against some of the better teams in the league. And the Bucs, I still think, are just kind of there. They might still fight for an NFC South, spot, but I'm going to take the Niners. So does Matthew. I think that is the safer choice. They're 11.5-point favorites here. Baker and the guys could keep it close, though, even within 10, I could see, but I'm going to take the 49ers. They look absolutely phenomenal on their good days defensively, too. Seahawks, Rams. The line has kind of went up and down here. 1-point favorites are the Seahawks. I think the health of Matthew Stafford's still a little bit questionable, but I think he's going back towards playing. But I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I think that they go towards the splitting the series route. They, get a win last week. I'm going to say that continues. So does Matthew in this one. Their offense is at least getting there with Geno. If they can just play some solid defense here, I think that they can get a win. Interesting spread, of course. Somebody's going to lose that because I doubt it's going to be a 1-point game. So that should be a fun one for sure. It's a nail-biter, I'm thinking. The Jets and the Bills. The Bills sputter last week in a crazy game that, yes, you can make the case they still should have probably won if they don't put 12 on the field there. But, still, they got to perform the rest of the game, too. And they just didn't last week. So the Bills is who I'm going to take here against the Jets. The Jets just look so slow on offense. It still just is what if Rodgers was healthy. This team is probably a serious playoff contender, but we can't go that direction with how they've performed, and so is Matthew taking the Bills. But stay tuned here. These last 2 games we do have a bit of a disagreement on. Vikings, Broncos. Before Monday night happened, I was thinking the Vikings were going to be the favorites, and they still were not. Because I was going to take the Broncos here as an underdog selection. But now they're the favorites, and I'm still going to take the Broncos. I think that they have been performing really well offensively, squeaking out some close games. You could definitely make the case that barely winning a nail-biter might bring them back down to earth, as I've thought that has been the case for the Vikings. That's what I thought would happen to them last week. It didn't, though. Anything can happen. But Josh Dobbs is playing out of his mind for the Minnesota Vikings. I just can't think that it goes this many in a row. That would be crazy. But credit to them if they do it. He's playing out of his mind, and I think will continue to play very, very well. I just think the Broncos here at home field is what makes the difference. I think that if the Vikings were at home, they would take that win. This is where I've got my kind of one of my formulaic picks for most of these is I take whoever I've ranked higher as a team. But if there's a team in a tier below that's at home, I might play that into consideration. This is one where it comes out of that. I think the Vikings I have ranked higher as a team, but I'm going to take the Broncos. They've been on a hot streak lately, and the home field advantage, I think, plays a huge part. I do expect this to be a very close game, though, so a 2-point spread is pretty accurate. Matthew's going to take the Vikings in an underdog matchup. That could certainly happen. I just am thinking, can it really happen 6 weeks in a row? That would be unbelievable if it did for them, but I'll take the Broncos, but credit to the Vikings if they go ahead and take that 6th win in a row. And the last one of the week here, we got the Eagles, Chiefs, the Kelsey Bowl. I'm going to say Taylor Swift's name to get in the algorithm for this video. 2.5-point spread, must-see TV. This one's going to be phenomenal. Like, after last week's slate, this is just a great set of primetime games. The Eagles I have ranked as like the best team, but as said a second ago, the Chiefs I have right behind them. These are my top 2 teams in the power rankings matching up against them. And as I just said, the home field advantage can play a part. I thought this was going to be an underdog pick for the Chiefs, but it is not. The Chiefs are favored by 2.5. The Eagles are really playing well. Now, I do think they've kept a lot of their games close, but they still just get it done. I think they have the best roster in the league. Chiefs have had a couple down games, but on their best days, once again, they are maybe the best team in the league because Patrick Mahomes is him. But I'm going to take the Chiefs in this one. I think that they, at the home field, will take down the Eagles and kind of bring everyone down to that 2-loss category. Matthew's going to take the Eagles. This should be a very fun one between the Kelsey brothers. Rematch of the Super Bowl, of course. And I think that this one I have going to Chiefs' direction, but could go either way. So thank you very much for watching this week's picks. I greatly appreciate you sticking around at this point in the video. We'll be back with more picks, and soon I'm going to be on break for school, so I'm going to have some extra time. I'm thinking next week might get out in a potential midway check-in kind of awards video. Might do a power rankings video separately. Might get into some film videos. We'll see, but I should have some time next week. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.